Welcome back to Math. These are the practice problems for Section 11, Graphing Linear Equations. Problem 1 says determine the coordinates of the following 5 points. Now remember, this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and the coordinates are going to be an ordered pair, an x and a y in that order, just like in the alphabet. So looking at point A is right here. It lines up with x at -1, and it lines up with y at 2. So point A is the location -1, 2. Point B lines up with the x-axis at -3, and it lines up with the y-axis actually at 0. C lines up with the x-axis at 0, and it is even with the y-axis at 3. D, down here, lines up with x at 5, and with y at -3. And finally, E lines up with x at 4, and with y at 2. Problem 2 asks us to find the slope of the lines that connect the following points, and there are 3 sets of points that we will look at. Remember that slope is rise over run. That's rise, the change in the y values, over the run, the change in the x values. And here's what this formula looks like. M, slope, equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. The 1s and the 2s just refer to which point you're talking about. So we'll label this point number 1 and point number 2. Okay, so first we're going to take the y value of point 1. That would be 2. Minus the y value of point number 2. That's 0. The x value of point 1, that's 4. And the x value of point 2, that's 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. So the slope of that line would be 2/3. Okay, let's do the next one. Again, I'm labeling this point 1 and point 2. y1, that's the y value. Remember, it's x and y. It's an ordered pair. So y value of point 1 would be 1, minus the y value of point 2, also 1, over x value of point 1, that's -2, minus the x value of point 2, that's -4. 1 minus 1 is 0. -2 minus a -4, that's the same as -2 plus 4. That would be 2. But basically what we wind up with is a 0 slope. That means it's a horizontal line. Alright, the last one. Label this point 1 and point 2. y1, the y value of point 1 is -4, minus the y value of point 2, over the x value of point 1, that's -3, minus the x value of point 2, -1. -4 minus 0 is still -4. -3 minus -1, that's the same as -3 plus 1, that's -2. We can simplify this. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And of course, a negative divided by negative, signs are different, answer is positive. So the slope would be 2. The first part of problem 3 asks us to solve this equation in y equals mx plus b format and then graph it. So we need to get y all by itself on this side of the equation. We'll start by moving this 2 over here by adding 2 to both sides. And now we'll divide by 2 since y is being multiplied by 2. There's our y equals mx plus b format. Remember, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept, that's 1. So the y-intercept, that's where it crosses the y-axis, there's 1. Now the slope, 3/2, that means we're going to rise 3 as we run 2. Rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run 2. Or we can go the other way, fall 3, go back 2. Either way, see. There's the equation of the line. Y equals 3/2 x plus 1. Problem B is a lot like problem A in that we have an equation. We need to get it into the standard format so that we can graph it. Let's start by writing it here. We need to subtract x from both sides so that we can start getting the y's all by themselves. Right? So this is subtracting x from both 6x from both sides. Now y is being multiplied by 3. We'll divide by 3. We have to divide all terms by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and a negative and a positive keeps us with negative. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and we keep the negative also. One's negative, one's positive. So here is our b, as our y-intercept is at -3, and our slope, m, is -2. So we cross the y-intercept at -3, that's right here. A slope of -2, that would be down to, down to over 1 this way, or up 1 over 1 that way. It's a negative slope, remember, so it's going to slant in the negative direction. Here's problem 4. What is the equation of the following line? That's kind of the reverse of what we just did. So y equals mx plus b. B is where it crosses the y-axis, the y-intercept. And that's down here at -5. So b equals -5. Now the slope. It looks to me like we have another point that exactly crosses the grid there and there. So our slope is, remember, rise over run. From here to here, we rise 1, 2, 3 grid lines as we run 1. Let's just test that again. Rise 3, run 1. So our slope is 3. That's m. Now we just substitute that into the equation. Y equals m, 3x, plus -5, or y equals 3x minus 5. Problem 5 asks us to find the equation of a line that's determined by this point, 2, 4, and a slope of -1/2, and graph the line. Okay, so this is the point slope formula. We already know this point 2, 4 is on the line. Let's just actually plot that. 2, 4. Okay, so 2, 4, we'll call that point number 1. So the y and the x values will substitute in here for y1, that's going to be 4, and x minus the x value, 2. All right, and they told us what the slope is. It's -1/2. Y minus 4 equals -1/2 x plus, right, negative times negative is a positive, 1. Now we need to add 4 to both sides so that we can get the standard format. Alright, that means 5 is our y-intercept. Remember, y equals mx plus b. So it crosses the y-axis here. We already know 2 points, but let's just be sure that that's a negative 1/2 slope. Negative 1/2, that's the rise, that's a fall, actually, of 1, and a run of 2. Yeah, fall of 1, run of 2. So here's our line. Let's connect the dots. Yes, that's a negative slope. And there's the graph of our line. Here's the second half of problem number 5. We've got our equation that we found, and now we want to test whether these points are on the line. The points are on the line if you can substitute the x and the y value into for x and for y and wind up with a true statement. Alright, so we'll take the y of this first, 3 equals negative 1/2 times the x value 5 plus 5. Alright, well, let's see. 3 equals negative 5/2 plus 5. I'm going to change that, multiply that by 2 over 2 so that I have a common denominator. And this would give me 3 equals 5/2. Well, that would be 3 equals 2.5? No, that's not right. So this point is not on the line. Let's try the other one. And again, we're going to substitute x and y for x and y. So the y first, 6 equals negative 1/2 times the x value, negative 2, plus 5. Okay, this is a negative times a negative, so the answer is going to be positive 1. And 6 equals 6. So yes, this point is on the line.